Well, you can have a sucker just for just because I like you. Nice.
I won't eat it till I.
No, fire away, right? These are my bribes for participation. So far we just got going vertical, and I'm cool with that. Jordan, what you got?
So where to find impact fees? Where to find impact fees for each area south of Florida?
Okay.
Where to find density and what can be built, tiny homes and for size of minimum lots.
Tiny homes. Okay. Setbacks, right? Is basically what he said. Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Gabriel?
Say a customer is interested in, say, a 5-acre parcel and that he or she wants to down the road subdivide into acre parcels for his or her family.
Okay.
How would I go about finding that information for them?
Okay. So they call that lot splits, right? So you can do a couple different things while we're talking about it, right? You can split, but there's rules that apply in order to be able to do that. Or you might come across in your career, like let's say you own a house in Cape Coral and the 2 lots next door are empty. For tax purposes, there's a financial benefit to join if you're never going to build on those lots next door, to join those with your primary residence for tax purposes. So you can do that as well. They call that, if you ever heard anyone mention it, they call it kill and combine, because what you're basically doing is you're killing the strap number that exists and combining it with another one. Okay. So cool. We're going to talk about pretty much all of that stuff. Anything else before I? Okay.
And the reason I'm asking is because we just moved on to now in October.
Okay.
And we went out on the water the other day, but like with some of the properties, it's getting mixed with the seawalls. And there are a ton of new developments going up right now, just in our neighborhood alone. Most of them duplexes, but like how do the seawalls fall into the property? How's that considered, or how they get built, how they get done?
Sure. I don't know that I have. Yeah, so I don't know that we'll touch base on all of that, but I do have some information on seawalls, timing, permits, all of that stuff, and some resources that, when we're all done here today, I hope to provide a dozen or so different resources. It's going to be hard to cover everybody's questions, but at least some resources. That's what I've done over the last 22, 23 years, is just kind of get in there and start asking questions. I don't really care if I look uneducated or whatever, but like the city of Bonita, I probably call them once a week, and they've got their 24-hour hotline, and they, you leave a message and they guarantee that the planner on call or whatever will call you back in 24 hours. Just leave a message and then make friends with one of those people. And then there's going to come a time when you need a really, really quick answer, and you won't have to wait 24 minutes because you'll have a direct extension to one of the planners, that sort of thing. Richard, what do you got?
Yeah, protocol for lot purposes. Theory like lotteries for lots.
Well, in gated development communities.
Yeah, I heard today that there's lots available, 5 lots available on the lot.
Okay. Yep. We won't touch on too much of that, but because it's indicative of every single solitary builder, right? Like for the last 6-8 months, we started to see, right? Has anybody seen any of that? You had a customer that wanted to buy a new construction, and a lot of the builders started saying, all right, well, at the beginning of the week, we're going to release these 3 lots. And on these 3 lots, you can build one of these 5 floor plans, right? But now I think, I don't want to jinx us, but now I think just in the last week, I've seen a half a dozen new construction developers that are telling us, hey, I've got this quick delivery home or what have you. So I don't know if we'll see more of that with the interest rates and stuff going up. But it's Richard, it's every single builder and developer runs those shows a little bit differently. Whereas on an individual lot, you're not really going to have that. You're going to have a multiple offer situation a lot of times, but not necessarily a lottery on individuals. Yeah. Matt. We're going to go over wetlands and species and all that stuff. Okay, cool. Who wants a sucker? Who wants a Tootsie Roll? Anybody? No? Taylor? I knew I could count on you. Lindsay? Yeah, anybody? Like? No, 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 no. Okay. All right, I wasted enough time now with that. Okay. Some of you guys, this stuff that we're going to go over is going to be really, really boring. I'll just warn you, right? Who in the room has ever, or who has not ever gone to like the Lee County property appraiser and measured a lot, or looked at the aerial view, or looked at the sketches and floor plans available? Like, don't be afraid to raise your hand because I have all of this ready to show you guys. It's really, really important. You've never done it, Lindsay? Okay, awesome. Anybody else? Chris? Amanda? Okay. So Collier County and Lee County have property appraiser sites. And so this is kind of the most basic information that we're going to go over today, right? And so I'm going to attempt to share my screen. So I'm going to hit share, right? I'm good. Just hit the links.
Got it. This means being recorded. You got it.
Okay.
Just go ahead and start showing.
Okay. How do I?
Told you guys.
It's all right.
Hit
I'd figure.
got it.
Oh, hit got
Yeah,
it.
get rid of
I didn't
that.
See that there? Man.
And just let me bring this bar down so it's out of your way.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
Attack. Gopher button.
So now, if I wanted to get a new browser,
What you got to do,
Right.
they can see your whole screen right now.
yeah, can I just go here
Yep.
and do that?
They can see your screen.
So here's how organized I am, ladies and gentlemen. I use this several times a day, every day, and I still don't have it marked as one of my favorites. This is the Lee County Property Appraiser website, right? And there's some really, really cool stuff here to kind of look into. Somebody give me a vacant piece of land address in Lee County. Anybody got one off the top of their head, a listing or something like that that they already have? Lee County property address. No? Okay. I got one. Anybody got one? Okay. 1604, 1604. 15th. Okay. Okay, right here. So okay, there we are. And so this is in Immokalee, Florida, right? In technically Lehigh. Well, that's where they live, is Immokalee, Florida, but the property's it's in Lehigh Acres. Yeah. Okay, so everybody see that there, right? And so we've got the parcel details, we got the tax estimator, we got view comps, which I've never really looked into, and then we've got our aerial view, right? So if you just, what I teach to our team is when you start getting involved with a property, whether it's a buyer or a seller, the very first place that you should go to make sure that you're hopefully gathering accurate information is the property appraiser, right? So if a property's been previously listed on the market and it says it was 2.5 acres, you might want to go back to a site like this and verify that in fact is the case, or, that the information on the deed is the same of, the same owner that you really, want to be involved. So again, there's some really cool stuff here. I'm just going to kind of go relatively fast through it. Hopefully. Good thinking. Oh, there we go. So you've got all kinds of information here about the property. And then here you've got recent sales history, right? So if you wanted to see the most recent time that the property was sold without, maybe it wasn't sold on the MLS, there's the information. What we're dealing with primarily today, though, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up is when we're talking about vacant land, a lot of times, well, our team does a pretty decent amount of vacant land sales, and I'd be lying if I said every single solitary time we put one on the market and had seen it, right? You don't necessarily have to drive all the way out there to see it. I try to go out there and see it because it's important, like this particular piece, we don't know. There could be something really, really unsightly going on in the general neighborhood or something like that would certainly be important, right, for people to know. But here's the property in Lehigh, right? And so again, everyone knows how to measure these lots. Has anybody ever seen that before? Yes? No? Okay. So I'm going to show you then here real quick. You got a little mailbox up here in the corner. right? And so I could grab this little guy here, and if I wanted to zoom out, right, I'm just dragging my cursor and zooming out, and boom, there I know, you know, what main drag it is or what have you, right? I can also do zoom in. Again, I can go highlight my area here. And there I am, zoomed in, right? So now let's say I'm speaking to a seller and they say, yeah, I think it's about a 1/4 acre, what have you, right? Well, you could go over here and verify it if you want. Now, again, this isn't going to be exact, but you've got several different measuring tools. I'm going to grab the one that allows me to measure. And so I need to double click here, drag my line all the way across. And now it's going to tell me that is 103 feet, right? So again, I'm not exact. So it's most likely like 105, 110, something like that. And then again, I can go down here to the other end and do the same exact thing. Right? And so now you know that that one is also, well, I guess I didn't double click, sorry. 105, 106, something like that, right? Questions on that? Again, I don't expect anybody to, you know, be able to do it the first time. And I'll write my contact information up here. You guys are welcome to reach out, and I'll help you any way that I can. So that's the Lee County site. The Collier County site works very, very similar. Questions on any of that at this point? No. Let me do one more thing here real quick to show you. Well, we'll just go to the Collier County site now. Collier County. A little bit different, obviously, because it's 2 different counties, of course, right? But here you go with the search database on the Collier County. And so first you have to accept accept their terms and conditions. But now here you can search by owner, address, parcel ID number, subcondo, advanced, and sales. So let's look at who's got a residential listing in Naples right now on the market. Anybody? Wow, we got some lead gen to do here, Jordis, right? Who owns a house in Naples? Anybody own a house in? Doesn't matter. Oh, actually, townhouse is going to throw us off a little bit because we can't get the sketch. Single family home? What you got? 15948. There we go. Okay. So here's the information about Lindsay's property, right? So we've got the information, we got the property detail, right? Which again, this is for more residential purposes, but here's the size of her home. Here's the size of the aluminum screen enclosure. Here's the size of the pool, the spa, the brick deck, right? Here's the permits that were pulled. But here's some of the really, really cool things too, right? Like, let's say we're going to go out and list Lindsay's house, but we don't know whether she backs up to an intersection. We don't know if she's on a lake. We don't know if she's on a golf course, right? And if you failed to ask those questions when you spoke to them the first time, I would be more prone to just go here and look rather than have to call them back 2 or 3 times and maybe look like you don't know what you're doing, right? So there is the aerial view. Again, we can zoom in or zoom out. By doing that, we have to go down here to the GIS new window. And there's how we can do all of those same things like we did in the Lee County site. Okay. I guess I can just look on this screen, can I, Jordis, as I'm over here like staring at the big screens. Thanks for giving me a heads up on that there, big fella. Huh? I'm over here going like this. Why didn't you tell me I could just look here, for God's sakes? Jackass. All right, so here's a really cool one in my opinion, right? So here is the footprint of Lindsay's house, right? So you can see exactly what she's got. It's going to give you the square footage. It's going to give you, pretty much the overall footprint of the house, because you might go there and find out that maybe it's a little bit different. So at least you might have something to base it off of, right? In Collier County, it wouldn't be the first time that you went somewhere in the garage was converted into living space or something like that. So, you know, when you call the homeowner and they say, well, yeah, I've got 3,000 square foot, but you come here first and grab your information and it's only 2,600 square foot, you got to figure out where that difference is. And if it's in a non-conforming garage that's been turned into 2 additional bedrooms, you're going to want to know that, number one, for appraisal purposes, for inspection purposes, and for permitting purposes, right? Because if the work is super shoddy, it's most likely going to have to either have a what they call an after the fact permit to try to get it approved, or it might have to be ripped out, right? So from a buying standpoint, you also want to be aware of that as well. When you come across something like that, you got to bring that to your person's attention. Okay. While I'm here with these measuring sites, any questions on any of this? Please don't be afraid to ask, right? Because again, I forget that I've been doing this for 20 some years. So everyone relatively clear on that, right? Measuring, all that good stuff. Okay, cool. We talked about lot dimensions. Okay. Question time and rewards. Okay. Everybody remember back to your real estate class days, some of us sooner than others, right? Who can tell me how many square foot or how many feet are in an acre? Huh? 43,560. Richard, congratulations. How did they teach it in class? Does anybody remember what they told you how to remember it in class?
Taurus doing 35.
Say that again?
Ford Taurus doing 35 and a 60.
A Ford Taurus?
Ford Taurus, like Taurus.
Like vacation.
Oh, Ford Taurus. Okay. I never heard that one. Anybody ever heard another one? Anybody else heard another one? 20 some, huh? Okay. I was taught, oh heaven, oh thank heaven, 7-Eleven. You guys can figure that out, but that's how I was taught 20 some years ago, was oh heaven, or oh heaven, 7-Eleven, something like that. So yeah, 43560, right? So you put the O in the front, right? And then 4356 equals 11. Anyway, anybody else never heard any of those? Okay. Show papers from the estates, lot splits. What else do we have here? Let's talk about what I think is probably a lot of people's biggest concern, at least, which is wetlands versus uplands. Yeah. No, man, this is,
I'm not sure if I'm jumping ahead of you.
doesn't matter.
Property, X amount of square feet, additions, this, that, what have you. Some, I have reason to believe are performing, permitted, some are not. How can I figure that out?
Well, so there's a couple different spots. Number one, you could go straight. Is this a Collier County? Okay, so if we went to, everybody understand? Sure. So Gabriel's got a single-family residential property. The owner is deceased, so he's dealing with family members that don't necessarily have intimate knowledge as to what the original footprint of the home has been. So there might be add-ons, room enclosed, lanais being enclosed into square footage. Okay. Yeah. So realistically, they probably didn't pull the permits, but if you wanted to go check where you could do that, you would go to the Lee County property appraiser. Do you know the address, or do you not want to share it?
1778.
17.
78 Aquarius Court.
Okay. I think I'm spelling that right? This comes up, guys, more often than you think. Is this the right property? Okay. This comes up more often than you think. And again, the biggest concern, guys, is if the square footage If it's not legal square footage, you're gonna run into appraisal problems, you're gonna run into lender problems, you know, all of those things. So we could go straight to the, parcel details, Gabe, right, Gabriel, excuse me. Go all the way down to the bottom here and go to the appraisal details. And so here is a breakdown of everything, right? So it shows that the base here is 4205. And then if you come down here, you can kind of see that footprint. Right? Now, if you can't get the answer from what you're looking for there, and you've been in the house and you're thinking, oh, this is a little wonky or whatever it is, one of the other places that you could go would be.
No, because that's the square footage that's being claimed. Those additions. The floor plan was changed to have multiple entrances, multiple rooms.
Inside, interiorly.
Yeah, make sure that.
So they're basically renting out rooms, or at some point, that's what somebody was doing. So the other resource that you could go to do something like that would be go to Econnect. Econnect is an online database, ladies and gentlemen, of permitted work, right? So we could go to, you know what, I apologize. I think I have to have an uploaded or create an account, and I probably do, and it would take too long for me to figure out what my passwords and stuff are. But once you register for a free account here at Econnect. Thanks, Jake. Here? Yeah, see,
I will Google Econnect.
yeah. Yes, thank you. And I have my back to this whole half of the room too, so that sucks too. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm a mess. They just, there's water all over the place. They just changed the, they just changed the login system and all that stuff. Every once in a while, they make you kind of re-log in. But if you just go in there and register yourself a free account, you got to provide a valid email address, right? Then you can go in there and basically search for all of that stuff. So you could type in the address, and any permit that's ever been pulled will show up there, right? So if you don't see it, then you know what they didn't do, right? Okay. Wetlands, say that again? Same thing for Collier County. Yeah, just Google Econnect Collier County, and it's the same thing. Bonita Springs actually has their own as well. Just, you know, again, Google Bonita Springs Econnect, and it'll show up. Okay. Who knows anything about wetlands versus uplands? Anybody? You're learning? What do you know? Okay. Are you dealing with something right now that's got some wetlands on it and you're trying to get permit to build on it? Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Who else knows anything about? Gabriel, what you got?
Check what's on that website at FWS.
Okay.
And then I spoke to Desmond New, some lady. They kind of guided me as far as the mitigation credits, et cetera. And then I know who to call for the mitigation survey.
Okay. 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 That's great. Anybody else?
I'm
What you got?
just working with somebody right now that wants to build a barn slash home.
Barnuminium?
Barnuminium.
Mhm.
Thank you. And I'm just now starting my search for her, and she's looking off the Soto, and so, yeah, I'm like just brand new, looking at the wetlands, and it's surprising that it seemed to me that they were all wetlands, but not all, but most of them were, and I was basing that off just that they were straight purple in the map. Is that correct? Those are-
I don't know what particular map you're.
It was in the MLS.
Okay.
Go to.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
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 I just want to make sure I'm doing it the right way, because it looked like it was just not many places that they could build.
What Jake is saying is probably correct, is you might be looking at the flood map, right? So
Yes.
here's one of the biggest misconceptions about wetlands versus uplands. It doesn't really have a whole lot to do with how high or how low lying the property is. It has everything to do with the type of soil that's on the property and the type of plant species and things that are growing on the property, right? And they're growing on that property based on the makeup of the soil, right? Whether it's hydraulic soil or not. So I don't know, Katie, that you were at the right spot, but hopefully after this next 15, 20 minutes, we'll at least be able to kind of point you in the right direction, right? So Gabriel said a couple of different things. What I really like is he's just calling around, right? He's just doing his research and calling around and finding people. Like, for instance, he mentioned a guy by the name of Desmond Duke. Desmond Duke virtually is in control of just about all of the wetland permitting right now. Whether he wants that job or not, I think he's a little bit overwhelmed because he controls one of the only usable mitigation banks right now, right? So I might be jumping around here a little bit, but in order to get permission to build in a wetland area, you have to pay a relatively steep fine, because in essence, what they're going to do is you're paying to impact an environmentally sensitive area, and then they're going to earmark someplace way out in the Everglades or up around Pine Island where they're going to block off a portion of acreage that will never be built on again to kind of conserve the property. Okay. So what's the difference between wetlands? Anybody want to make up the difference between uplands and wetlands? Can anybody take us? Okay, drainage. Okay. Okay. Anybody else? That's correct, right? That's a big. Generally, it is. Again, it doesn't have anything to do with elevation and things like that or floods. It's going to be typically it's going to be wetter. Yep. Yep. Anybody else? No. Okay. Can you build? Right? Can you build on 100% wetland property? Anybody know the answer to that? No? Can you build on 100% wetland property? Okay, right. So what I'm referring to here is this is a 2.5 acre piece in Golden Gate Estates, right? And this means that it's wet. The whole thing is wet, right? Because you might also have the piece right next door that looks like this, which means this back half is wet, this half up here is dry, right? Everybody understand me so far?
Where do you find that? Where do you find that?
Glad you asked. I'm going to pass this around. This is a preliminary wetland determination report, right? So there are, let's just kind of cut to that, and I apologize for jumping all over the room here. There are 2 or 3 companies, probably more, that you can get these preliminary reports done. The most popular one that I've used for years and years and years is called Tropical Environmental Consultants, TEC, and they're based out of Naples. And the gal's name is Brooke that owns it, and she's very, very helpful. They have a really awesome website, Tropical Environmental Consultants, where you could send your consumer, your customer, and kind of get an idea of exactly what's involved and why it's wetlands and all that stuff. And you can order those reports directly online, or they can put their credit card information and pay for it, right? So there's that company. There's also another really awesome company in Bonita that we use a significant amount of the time as well, and they're called Earth Tech. And they're both going to produce a report like that. So as that report's being passed around, you can see that this is a 5 acre piece, of which 4.81 acres of the 5 acre piece is wetland, right? Why is that important? It's important because if there were a couple acres that weren't wet, we would potentially be able to avoid the wetlands and build in the dry area, and then not have to pay those huge fees and fines. In addition to that, wait the 10, 12, 14 months that it requires right now to get a permit from both the FDEP and the Army Corps of Engineers to do that, right? I stress that because, Katie, when you start looking at properties out there off of DeSoto for your folks, you might see a huge discrepancy in similar sized properties, because some of them will be 100% wet and some of them will be 100% dry. And the dry ones are shovel ready. So if you could get your barnuminium approved, you just need your building permit and you're ready to go. But if you're going to buy one of the lesser expensive ones that most likely has some wetlands on it, the first thing that you need to do is get one of those reports done, right?
After you find the piece of property that they're interested in, right?
This is during your due diligence period, right? Right. So let's, all right, let's go there, right? There's due diligence periods in all of these contracts, right? Personally, on our team, if at all possible, right, Jake? Sometimes we have some guys that hold out. We don't really take acreage parcels to sell unless they either have the report or they're willing to pay for the report to be done, right? Because in my experience, if they're not willing to pay for it, because again, we're talking about the difference of what could be 20, 30, 50, maybe even a couple $100,000 in value. And so if my seller isn't willing to spend $300-400 to do that, then they most likely already know it's wet and they're just pulling your leg, right? So, okay. So let's go to the, so you have a couple properties that your customer's interested in, right? First and foremost, if the report's available, you would think that they would have it in the attachments. If they don't, then I would reach out to the agent and find out if they do have it available. Because some of the agents, some of you in this room don't know anything about this process, and so you wouldn't know enough to ask, right? But they might have it. They might have the actual report. Now, the reports are only good for, right now, I think 11 or 12 years. So if you've got a report that's, 15, 20 years old, then you're going to have to probably get an updated one. They don't change too much, but I would hesitate to tell your customer that, right? Because you wouldn't want to find out after they purchased it that it has completely changed. So during your due diligence period, if you can't find one of the reports, you can have one done by one of these companies. And right now they'll turn the report around in about 7 to 10 days. Okay. It says on their site, as a matter of fact, how long of a turnaround time they have. Okay. Questions on that so far? Okay, let's get into some of the particulars. We've got a sponsor. I got to quit at a certain. Okay.
You guys, remember we had a reverse poll 100 right after there. That might be calling you today.
Okay. I'm going to never finish all the material that I have, so I will just kind of pick and choose what I think is going to be the most important. Apologize now for my drawing skills. So we're going to represent a customer that wants to build a single family home on property, right? And in order to, and it's got some wetlands on it, so you've got to get the permit, right? So let's say this is our, in order to get that permit, you can't just call the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and say, hey, this is Cory. I want to build a 2,500 square foot home with a pool on this property, right? There's a entire, very lengthy, detailed process that's involved in order to submit your application. And the very first part of being able to do that after you get your report. So let's say this is the parcel that Katie's people have chosen, right? And there are some wetlands back here in that corner. If anybody's seeing that report, right, there's an aerial view of kind of what it looks like. Let's say there's some wetlands there. There's some wetlands here, and there's some wetlands there. Follow me so far? But now this is what you're trying to build on there. That's your driveway, that's your house, here's your pool, and of course you got to put in a septic tank, okay? What you need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is to get that, my beautiful drawing there, the objective here is to get that beautiful drawing on that property without touching any of the wetlands. You follow me so far? So if you just kind of look at that right now, it looks like, I mean, we could try to position it where maybe we took the driveway through here and maybe, again, this isn't to scale, so maybe we could do that. I think you got to have your septic tank here. Maybe you could put your pool here. So there is a way that if you designed, you could get that to occur. Follow me so far, right? But now let's say, well, let's just do this. 100% wetland property. How are you going to do this over here without mitigation? The answer is no, right? You can't. So once you decide that you're going to do that, then you have to file a permit with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Generally, you're going to hire a company to do that, right? Because you're going to have a site plan to submit to them as to how big your barnuminium is going to be, Katie. You need to know where your septic tank's going to be. You need to know, maybe they want to build like a 4-car detached garage in the back. And if they're going to try to do all of that on a property that's 100% wet, everywhere they put their driveway, their house pad, their septic tank, their pool, and their barn, all of that gets calculated into exactly where they're going to impact environmentally sensitive land. Okay? Out in the estates and in like Buckingham and in that area, typically you're going to impact, this is relatively important, you're going to impact generally like 0.19, well, let me go backwards. Here's where it gets really, really interesting. When I got started in the business 20 some years ago, the cost of one mitigation credit was $35,000. Okay. It is now on average $175,000, soon to become $200,000. Yeah, but not for what's called herbaceous. There's two different levels. So the lower level, which is what's around here right now, is right around 175,000. Correct. So we don't have a whole lot of that. Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of that. For the most part, it's here. Now, that doesn't mean that because this is so high that you're going to pay a large portion of that. You are going to pay a large portion of that, right? However, generally, when you're building out in the estates, you're going to need, if you just did like a 2,000 square foot home, you got to have a septic, you got to have a driveway, right? Maybe you're going to have a pool. You're generally going to impact somewhere between 1.19 of a credit up to, 0.19 to 0.25, right? So if somebody do the math for me, right? If you're going to impact 0.25 of one credit, what's the number that you're going to pay in mitigation? 43, what'd you say, Matt, 43? 750, right? So assuming that in this particular instance, you're going to impact 0.25 of a full credit, it's going to cost you $43,750, right? Again, not a small number, right? But not anywhere near 175. Okay, so if that wasn't bad enough, it's going to take you anywhere from 12 to 16 months right now in Lee or Collier County to get permission to write this check. Okay, that's where I was going to 5 or 10 minutes ago when I said, when you start to see the significant difference in upland versus wetland, you can see it right here, because even if you were okay with writing a check for 50 grand to be able to do what you want to do, you can't do it. There's no way to shortcut the system. You can't do it until you get a permit, right? And the only person right now in our area that's writing those is Desmond Duke. I spoke to Earth Tech 2 days ago, and they are waiting on 97 letters from Desmond Duke that are anywhere from 120 to 11 months late compared to where they were supposed to be turned in. So again, I'm not trying to scare you out of, building homes and doing those things, but my biggest point is the fact that there's a reason why the upland is so expensive and nice, because when you start looking at the cost of waiting and all of those things, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if I spent $250,000 on a nice property west of 951 or something, a couple acres, with my down payment, 50 grand and whatever else I have going on, I might not have a whole lot more money in the bank to then go ahead and turn around and write this check, right? So you end up spending $350 on something instead of $250. Questions on that? I know that's a lot to.
Right now.
They're going to quote you anywhere from 12 to 18 months. The last one that we did took 14 months, and that was in 2019. It's only got significantly worse because everybody wants to be doing this. Yeah, yeah.
So when it's typical where it's not so crazy like it's been the last couple years, but
It's going to take years and years and years, Amanda, to get through the backlog. I couldn't tell you. Because they've also changed the laws, not to get in the weeds here a little bit, but this used to have to be approved by two different entities. One was the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and then the second was the Army Corps of Engineers, right? The Florida Department of Environmental Protection had to approve or deny your application within 90 days. The Army Corps of Engineers is under no such jurisdiction, so they can take as long as they want, right? Now, they've done away with the Army Corps of Engineers having to approve it. Most of the time, it's just a rubber stamp from FDEP. But now it's put so much pressure on FDEP. Now they went from 90 days to now they're a year out to get approval as well. Yeah.
You told me also as far as like, that's how I was able to keep the water up. But there's kind of a way you can kind of prognosticate the price only, because there's also the UMAP score, which DEP would give it, but it's between 1 and 10. You're never going to get to 10. 10 is straight up everything variable.
Mhm.
Like 8 would be the worst case, 3 is the best case. You would essentially, whatever the full credit is for mine was 220. If it's say a 5, so that's 50% of that. And then if it's a quarter acre of that, then 50% of that, you divide that into a quarter. So you further deduce the price down to what it was. And then you, it's kind of a better ballpark. So if you, even if you just stood in the middle of say 5,
Mhm.
you can kind of get a ballpark of what the price would be.
Everybody understand what Gabriel's talking about? Okay. So we wrote that $175,000 number out there, right? But you don't necessarily have the time or the energy or the effort to go through that process on several different parcels trying to figure out what your customer wants to do or not do, right, Gabriel? Right, so he's kind of parking, all right, I'm gonna build this big of a house. What he's talking about, a 1 versus a 10, that's the quality of the wetlands. So the stronger quality of the wetlands, the more money, right? The more environmentally sensitive the property is that you're going to impact, you're gonna pay for it, right? So he's 100% correct in doing that, but now here's another big significant change, and Desmond Duke doesn't tell you this, right? Jake and I think Marie Friends were probably even on the team when we've done this a couple of times. Before this market took off like crazy, I have a customer that owns a significant amount of land in an area called San Carlos Estates in Bonita. They're 1.25 acre parcels. Right now they're pushing like 300 grand for an acre and a quarter, right? A couple, 2-3 years ago, this customer bought all of as many of the properties that were 100% wet as possible. And we took them through the entire process. So we went and got a house plan, right? Did all the behind the scenes work. And then we took it through the entire process, which at that time was only 7 or 8 months. So then we put them on the multiple listing service and sold them as ready to go shovel ready properties. You can't do that anymore. They've eliminated the ability to do that because, again, back when we were doing this, the mitigation credits were 135,000. Now they're at 175, and Gabe telling us is that some of them are 200 to 220 already. So what was happening is everyone, right? We weren't just the smart ones doing this. Everybody was trying to do this and get ahead of the curve. And they would pick up a lot for 40 grand. They would do the mitigation, pay 10 to 15,000 bucks for it. So they'd have 60 into it, and then they could turn around and sell it for, like, we sold several of them where he bought them for like 25,000 bucks. I did all the work. It cost us 11, 12,000 bucks in mitigation. So we were at 37 and we sold 3 or 4 of them at 99 grand. Not a bad day. The problem is Desmond Duke was giving us the credits here at 135,000 and nobody was building on them. So if you understand how the mitigation bank works, they can only sell what they have available. So they were pre-selling all of these credits at 130,000. Meanwhile, the price went through the roof. So now they won't let you prepay that anymore. You can't get your credit, right, until you literally have your notice of commencement and are ready to put a shovel in the ground. And then you pay whatever the appropriate figure is. So that's important to understand. Yeah, Matt.
Is that the only?
Well, any company that you hire, they used to be about $3,500. Like if you go to Earth Tech's website, I think they charge a flat fee of like $3,500 or $3,700 to take it through the entire process. But then if the Florida Department of Environmental Protection kicks it back, then they'll charge you like another $1,200 to go through the process again, that sort of thing. So they're all kind of different. And there's, I don't know, half a dozen companies around town that will do that.
So in a nutshell, like only buy wetland at this point.
Well, so you, just like mitigation credits have gone up, they could also go down, right? So I don't know, buying really, really cheap dirt is not necessarily a bad move, but if you're an end user, right, then I would just be prepared for a huge wait, right, to get the approval, and the cost going from 175 to 200,000 in a matter of a couple of months, right? So you might be, you're going to have to be the advisor for your customer as to whether it's best for them to buy top of the market on something that's 100% upland and ready to go, or to buy something that's down here that needs all kinds of time and energy and effort and money to spend, right? Pardon me? On uplands, there's nothing to mitigate. It's ready to go, shovel ready. That, again, Roseman, is that how you say it? Again, Roseman. So that's why, again, you're going to see out in the estates or any other place, or San Carlos Estates for that matter, you're going to see an acre and a quarter for 99,000. And then you're going to see that same acre and a quarter 2 streets over for 285,000. Right? Now, that's a huge difference. So it's just a matter of personal preference. You know, would you go buy one for 80? And I'm not really looking to build for a couple of years. I'm not going to retire and move down from Jersey for another 3 or 4 years. Maybe you grab that one for 80 grand. And when the time comes, then you can go through the process, because I bet the 80 probably turns into 150 if the market, you know, continues to go like that. Right? Okay. I want to show you one thing here real quick. On the property appraiser's site again. There we go. Just to give you a general idea of kind of what wetlands look like from an aerial standpoint. You might, because this might help you in just when you're doing some preliminary searching for your customers, you might be able to just take a quick glance at the aerial view and say, you know what, there's probably a really, really high potential that this property has wetlands. So this is in San Carlos Estates, right? And we're actually building a house right here on this parcel right now. Let's see here. So everybody familiar with San Carlos Estates in Bonita? Anybody? Raise your hand, please. Yeah, 1 or 2. No, nobody. Okay. This is one of the very few places in Bonita where you can buy acreage. And so, of course, it's now, you know, selling for $300,000, that sort of thing, for an acre and a quarter. And I'm just going to take off the streets and the map, and I'm going to move this up a little bit. Everybody see that smack dab in the middle of your screen? Okay. What do you notice about everything around there?
They're building everywhere but it.
Right? Everything is developed around there except for that spot. Okay. You see that light brown colored area? That is what's called a cypress head, right? Cypress head, cypress trees are what is going to be found primarily in your wetland areas. So again, I've been doing this a long time, but in San Carlos Estates 15 years ago, these roads weren't even paved. They were dirt roads, right? And so what they did is they came in and they assessed everyone to put in city water. They still have septics and then roads, and you were assessed based on the amount of acreage that you owned. However, all of the people that own this property, their property is so low-lying and covered in wetlands that most of the people just chose not to impact it. So I'm using this as an example simply as when you start looking out in DeSoto, if you went to the Collier County property appraiser and kind of pulled up something like that, when you see something like that, that's indicative of wetlands. Does that, and you can kind of use that pretty much. Now, in Golden Gate Estates, you're just going to have your, you know, your little palm trees and things like that. But when you start to see those big, huge color separations like that, primarily that's what you have. So hopefully that's helpful when it comes to that. Before I move on to something else, anybody got any questions on wetlands? Sure.
The difference between wetland and flood zone. What is the difference?
Night and day,
Oh,
right? One has nothing to do with the other. You were on the flood map,
yeah.
right? This has nothing to do with the other. I mean, obviously a property that is wet is going to hold water way more than something that's upland, but flood zone has everything to do with elevation and all of those things. And that's not what we're talking about.
Check, or how can you see it in the MLS?
How you can see what?
Whether it's the percent of upland.
You can't. That's why, who's got my report, right? That's why. So you make an offer, right? First and foremost, you try to find out if the seller has the report, right? If the seller doesn't have the report and you can't find the report, then let me stop there. You can, even if the seller doesn't have the report, right? Because properties change hands and all of that stuff over the years. You can simply Google Lee County wetland determinations or Collier County wetland determinations, and you're going to go to the site that, I don't know the exact site, but if you just Google either one of those. Yeah, right. But I just, again, I'm the guy that's not doing any of that. It's not 100%. It's not, well, okay, so then we might be not be talking about the same thing. I'm going to go Lee County wetland. This is kind of last resort, right? So again, you ask the seller if he has one. If they don't have one, then you can just Google Lee County wetland determinations or Collier County wetland determinations, and they're broken apart in PDFs as strap numbers, right? So here's the list. Anytime one of these reports is done and some sort of a permit was pulled or something at the county level, it goes into this database. So the seller might be acting like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then you do a couple of clicks of the mouse and you might find that some of these parcels have already been done, right? So, and then you've got your little key here at the top that says wetlands, map shows wetlands, map shows uplands. So again, the Department of Environmental Protection is ongoing looking into these parcels. So that's a resource for you either in Lee or Collier County to potentially find some of those. Yeah.
So does this mean that these properties in question already had a delineation survey, or just that they just did like a general map area?
Well, if you look at the key here, you've got uplands, you got needs site plan to determine impacts, site plan uplands, site plan wetlands. So depending on what it says here in the abbreviation over here, you know what you've got, right? So let's say this one here that says site plan wetlands. You might go down and find that property, and then while they were out there, they took a look at the property right next door. And so then they might notate that one that the map shows wetlands, right? So they try to be, believe it or not, right? A government agency trying to be efficient. They try to go out there and look at properties on either side and see what they have. Again, this is kind of a last ditch effort. But again, it's really, really important because when I go to price out a property in Golden Gate Estates for a seller, we're talking about a huge difference in value on something versus uplands versus wetlands, right? Like this report alone, like if this is a 5-acre piece of which 4.31 of it is wetland, we were talking about $320,000 if the thing was 100% uplands, right? Now we're talking about 157. Guess what? They don't want to sell. Okay, that's fine by me, but you're going to pay for this, right? Why wouldn't you? If you have a customer and they will refuse to do this for $400 to make another $150,000, you might run, right? Because something ain't making a whole lot of sense, right? They either already know that it's wet or something like that. So, okay. So that covers our wetlands. Something else that I wrote down here, somebody tell me here, who can tell me what a percolation test is, other than you two over there? Right? Home inspectors over there.
What's the role of the ground as far as the density and, you know?
Saturation, right? And what do you need? What do you use a percolation test for? Yes, but more, very, very specific. Does anyone know what a percolation test is for? Septic, right? Not to be gross, right? But if you fail your percolation test, you are asking for problems if you're going to put a septic system in there, right? So that's kind of another buzzword, and it might be something that your customer is buying a piece of vacant land and they're getting, you know, some feedback from their builder. Hey, make sure you look at the wetlands, make sure you look at the uplands, and during your due diligence period, you might want to do a percolation test. They're not done so much anymore, but they used to be really, really popular. Okay. Okay, so I've got like 20 minutes here, guys, and I've got way, way, way more information to go over with you than what I have. So I'm going to pool the room here and just see what you think is going to be the most important to talk about. So far, what I have left, I've got bridge heights, right, in Cape Coral. I've got Cape Coral assessments. I've got some seawall information to share. And then primarily I've got all of the protected species that are going to throw a monkey wrench into building on vacant lots. So your bald eagles, your gopher tortoises, your burrowing owls. And then I've just got some buzzwords. Anybody got any opinions on which ones to talk about first? Bridge heights. I heard bridge heights a couple times. Bridge heights. Okay, let's go to bridge heights. Don't judge me on this, ladies and gentlemen. I got this information from Jake Newville. He's back there in the corner. But this whole business is all about R&D. Has anybody ever heard of R&D before? George, you ever heard of R&D? He's not listening. R&D stands for rip off and duplicate, right? This particular gentleman and another gentleman in Cape Coral has taken it upon himself to put together maps of all of Cape Coral and the bridge heights and all of those things, right? So this is his website, topwaterfrontdeals.com. And I know of hundreds and hundreds of agents that go here to his site every single solitary day and use his information. So that's what I would suggest as well. I'm sure you could find the information on Cape Coral's websites or things like that. As you can see from my presentation, I don't necessarily have the time for that. So you just go to his bridge height information. You got to scroll all the way down here to this second button and then click to enlarge the map. And there you go. There are all of the bridge heights, right? Why is this important? Because again, you sell someone a property here, right? This is the Caloosahatchee River, right, Jacob? Yep. So yeah, there's Cornwallis. And so you sell somebody a property here that's got a 35, 40-foot boat and a big, what do you call that? Center tower, T-top, whatever it is. And it's taller than 13.5. And you just sold them this nice house for a couple $1 million, and then they go to take their first boat ride and they can't go under the bridge, you're gonna have a problem, right? So that's really all I have to share on that. That's a really, his website is awesome. If you just go in there and play around a little bit, because in addition to the bridges here for the golf access properties in Cape Coral, boating on the freshwater canals is also super popular for people to do. And there are bridges and locks and things like that that you've got to go under and meander through as well. So he's got all of that information on this website. Questions on that? What do you got?
That clearance be measured, I guess, at high tide. You know what I mean?
It's measured at high tide. Yeah, it's measured at high tide. Good question.
But right now, we have like no water now.
Mm-hmm.
And every day, like I just say, go outside and see it's lower and lower and lower. So now they have their ban on their watering yards and stuff. So I know that
Sure.
and they can't get out. So, I mean, during rainy season, obviously they're way higher.
Mm-hmm.
So does that play an effect in the bridge too?
Well, my understanding is they're taking it at the absolute highest of, right? Because they're not necessarily, we're not talking about depth, right? That's why the boats are sitting in the dirt. We're talking about them being able to take their boat underneath the bridge, which gets taken into consideration. I'm not a boater. No, please, by all means, Jake's a boater.
That are low in water, you don't necessarily have to worry about tide out there because for the time, tide's only going to affect the northeast, southwest cape. Those are closest to the biggest bay, right? Yeah, the bay. Those northwest canals, those canal homes, you're never really going to see much change other than that's going to be a foot drop here and there. Where it's the same thing on the tide homes, because the time for the tide to push through all those canals, whether they're freshwater or they're brackish.
Not here.
Northwest Cape, it doesn't really affect those. That's when you only see.
Okay.
rainy season.
So just because I want to understand, like, Cape is gonna be like my main area, obviously, because I live there. So we just figured out we are on a freshwater canal. We are in address to southeast, but imagine it's the southeast, you know, the older development of Cape. So that's just kind of curious, like, I mean, I don't see many bridges, obviously you have some, and I'm still learning all the things going down there for years, so. Like, I don't know how that all takes effect when we get all that rain in the summer, fall months. How that's going to affect the bridge.
Yeah, I don't think it plays too much of an effect on the bridges. If you're in Southeast Cape, that's all around high rate. Right, so because they want to measure at the top, it's only going to get bigger as time goes down or like
So
those
for
are
the
all
most
key
part, they should go off the bridge height and then kind of use their judgment throughout the rain and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, you can call the county, sometimes they are big numbers, because rainy season, but we've also had seasons where there's been a lot more rain and other. But most people just stay safe and they know what their boat can fit, and they usually have like a 3 to 5 foot swing.
Sorry, I'm not going to be the expert when it comes to all of that stuff, but like I said, believe it or not, this guy's got some really, really good information, as you can see up here. This is kind of his specialty out in the Cape. Yeah, just spend a few minutes, and I learned all kinds of stuff just looking at that, right? So. Yeah, exactly. So since we're on Cape Coral, can anybody tell me right now if you wanted to have a seawall built on a Gulf access canal in Cape Coral, what are you looking at as far as a permit and being able to put it in, right? Because this is another important reason why you're going to see lots and prices all over the board, right? You got an answer for me, Raymond? I'm talking about, you want to buy a lot in Cape Coral. It doesn't have a seawall. It's Gulf access lot. How long till you can have that seawall installed? How many?
Between 9 and 12 months.
Okay, anybody else got a guess? A little longer, okay? So currently right now, and I just verified this just 2 days ago, so I can give you good information. On a saltwater canal right now, you're looking at 7 to 14 months for the permit alone. Okay, so that's approval to put one in from the city of Cape Coral. 7 to 14 months, and I know that's a big swing, but that's what she gave me. Then the company has to install it. They are 9 to 11 months backed up before they install it. So they're not going to step foot on your property until you have the permit, right? So once you get the permit in hand, then they will come out sometime in the next year and install it. So again, do you see the reason why a Gulf access lot in Cape Coral might be 190 and 310, right? So again, whether or not you see the value or your customer sees the value, I think the important thing is what the customer wants to do, but that's the reason why you see a little bit of that, right? If you have mangroves, right, forget it. You're talking about that whole environmental side that we talked about with the wetlands. So you're 3 some years down the road before you could do anything like that. Yeah, Katie.
Question. Do you have to have that in order to build a house on property?
In the city of Cape Coral, you cannot build on a freshwater canal or a Gulf access canal without a seawall, period.
What about in Bonita?
Well, Bonita actually is the exact opposite. If 55% of the canals have seawalls on it, they actually won't allow you to put on a seawall. They'll allow you to do riprap, but they won't allow you to install a seawall. And if they won't allow you to do a seawall, how do you put on a dock, or, you know, you then that, all of that gets taken into consideration.
How is it with mangrove?
100%,
To-
no,
you
100%.
need to do anything?
Well, unless you want to cut them, then you got to get permission.
I know, but it's not like you need like seawall or riprap to build a home. You can
Mm-mm.
use the mangrove.
No, Cape Coral's the only one that mandates that a seawall be put in before building. They won't give you a notice of commencement. Yeah, man.
Based on your experience, or anybody else answered it, I want to get, say, 100 foot of seawall length. What is that? Really, that kind of, that's linear feet, what's the cost, you know, for a seawall? We're gonna engage, cost, how much would it cost, Joe customers, to put this
Seawall is probably, I'd say, probably 50, 60 right now. 50,000.
Yeah. Used to be 25, 35. Yep. And now it's probably, 45 to 65,000. That's just the seawall. Then you put your captain's plank and your everything else, then you're looking at 100 grand, right? You put in that little patio thing or whatever that they put in there. Yeah, Katie.
Does it take less time to get it riprap than the seawall?
Yeah, but in Cape Coral, yes, it does, right? But in Cape Coral, they only allow for a seawall.
But we're having a situation with Bonita, we're getting an after-tax permit right now.
Rip rap would be faster.
It's faster,
Mhm.
okay.
Substantially faster. And just the city of Bonita in general is relatively faster than Collier County or Lee County, because it's just Bonita handles all their own stuff, right? Whereas Lee County handles everything for Lee County except for Bonita. So
But the company still back that.
Right.
yeah, the companies are still backed up. Now, freshwater, right? Freshwater canals, right? Obviously not as costly or as valuable as a saltwater canal. 3 to 6 months for that same permit to be issued by the city of Cape Coral. And then 3 to 6 months for the company to come out and complete it. So even on a freshwater canal, to have a seawall put in, to be able to build, right? With interest rates going up 2% in the last 90 days, think of all the different things that gets taken into consideration. You got approved about to build a home for 500,000. Now the interest rates are up 2%. You didn't know that it was going to cost you 100 G's to put in a seawall. You sure as hell didn't know that it was going to have to wait a year to have it built. You wonder why you're seeing 30% of properties come off the market and go right back on, because people, when they finally educate themselves, this isn't exactly what they thought they signed themselves up for, right? Please.
I just want to understand, so in Cape Coral, like it is there, and I know we restrict on everything, but it is a requirement, salt or fresh now, to have the seawall before building.
100%.
Then that kind of confuses me though, because the duplex we moved into
Mhm.
was built 4 years ago. It's like 4 years old. My
Okay.
landlord bought it from whoever the original owner was, but we have no seawall.
I don't know when they changed the law. I just know that that's
Okay,
what it
well,
is now.
the lot across from us on the canal is building right now 2 different lots actually, and then there's one around us that's actually building too, but there's no seawall. built in it. So that's
don't
why
know.
I'm curious.
I'd be prepared to see them getting a nice fine or a stop work order or something like that. I mean, you can go right on the main page of the Cape Coral building permit, and it's right there like flashing that you are not allowed to start building
Okay,
until you
so
have seawall.
maybe that's something I need to definitely look
Yeah.
into then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these guys need to talk here in a couple of minutes. Can I have like 5 more minutes and then you guys are good? Okay. Well, they want to get out of here too, and they want to eat and all that other stuff. So I'm going to just kind of cut to, well, 2 things. Cape Coral, so we got city water and city sewer assessments going on in Cape Coral like crazy, what they call the expansion project. Okay. So here is the opportunity for you to Did I miss it or did I miss it, Jake? I thought I was on the right. Here. Yep. Yeah. So you want to know whether or not somebody that you're doing business with out in Cape Coral either has paid off their assessment, their sewer assessment, or their, their utility assessment. You can go in here and type in the address, and then once you find one, it says run the report, and you can actually see what it costs to pay it off, all of those things, right? And then you can actually go to another website on capecoral.gov and just Google the Cape Coral expansion utility project and see the next areas that they're going to start putting in that information, right? Because again, when they do that, they're going to whack those people for anywhere from 15 to 25,000 bucks to hook up to city water and city sewer. You get to pay it off over time, but again, right now you see what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, 1,900 lots for sale currently in Cape Coral, and a large portion of them are out in the areas where they're just getting ready to be hit with those assessments. So it's a great time for them to cash in and make their money, and then let somebody else foot the bill. Okay.
Like on new build.
So if we put in an address here, Jake, do we have an address that would actually have one? Yeah, that we could look up and show.
So that it won't say that's paid, right? Once the post is paid off, it's not going to show up here. Like if you run a report on a southwest or southeast home, most likely there's not going to be assessment. Usually your assessments are usually like the northeast.
Right, I'm saying like if you build, but there's still lots that are like I said.
Well, that's going to be part of your impact fee. So in order to build, that's going to be part of your impact fee right from the jump. You don't get the opportunity a lot of times. Correct. Correct. Because you're hooking up, you're paying to hook up to those municipalities. Yep. Okay. Just real quick, right? And then we want our vendor who's supplied lunch, and we want to give them an opportunity to speak. You've got to be concerned with a couple of different species of things when you're buying vacant land because they are extremely, extremely problematic, right? Bald eagles is the first one that I want to just kind of give you some general information on. If there's a bald eagle on the property that you're trying to build, it is federally regulated that you have to stay at least 660 feet away from the nest. Okay. In the event that you bought a parcel big enough to have 660 feet, right, you also cannot do any construction with an active bald eagle's nest on it from October 1st to May 15th. Okay, so again, imagine the importance of that. A quarter-acre lot isn't going to have that kind of space, so you buy some acreage only to find out there's a freaking eagle on there, and not only do you have to stay 660 feet away from it, right? You also can't do anything on the property that's going to make any noise and disrupt their mating season from October 1st to May 15th. Okay. Gopher tortoises. Okay. Gopher tortoises are extremely prevalent in two areas. Marco Island. Well, I guess three areas. Marco Island, Bonita Springs actually has a large majority of them, but the biggest concern right now is in Cape Coral. Right. Anybody familiar with gopher tortoises? Removal, any of that stuff at all? No? Okay. So you have a gopher tortoise, right? You can do a couple different things on there. You can you can build and stay 25 feet away from the gopher tortoise, right? And then not have to disrupt their nest. You could relocate that nest on your property. And again, stay 25 feet away wherever you relocate it. You could stay 25 away from it from your building envelope. Or generally what happens is they have to be relocated to a site that houses and homes those gopher tortoises, okay? Some really, really important things to take into consideration here. If you have a gopher tortoise and it either has to be moved on your property or to another property, there is a flat fee for somebody to come over and stake it out, excavate the nest, whatever it is, and that is a flat fee of $2,000, okay? In addition, when turtles lay eggs, they lay one egg in one burrow. And every time that a turtle lays eggs, they generally will lay somewhere between 6 and 8 turtles in individual burrows. So what that means is for every turtle that you have to relocate, whether it's on your property or to another site, it is a flat fee currently right now of $1,300 per turtle. Okay, so we're talking about an egg that could be this big, $1,300 per turtle. However, there are currently 17,000 turtles in a 2-county area that are waiting to be relocated. Therefore, in the next couple of months, they are going to raise the fee to move a turtle to $6,000 per turtle. Look it up. I'm not making it up. Okay. So what do you think is going to go to the price of those properties that have turtles versus the properties that don't have turtles? That's the whole point of my hour-and-a-half conversation here, is to be careful, right? 500. Now, I'm not going to tell you what I did 25 years ago when I was in the business and we had properties that had turtles on it, right? But it involved dark of night, black jumpsuits, and a fetch and run. But you can't do that anymore, right? And it was a big sale too, and it was worth every bit of it. $500 fine and 60 days in jail if they catch you for every turtle you touch, right? It's not a collect $200 and don't pass go. It's your ass is going to jail for 60 days and you're getting $500 fine for every turtle you touch. So big time money. The most recent one that I did 2 or 3 years ago in Bonita, on Bonita Beach Road, we had a $93,000 sale of a property right behind well, it's not important. There's a putt-putt on Bonita Beach Road, like close to the beach and right there. It was like the last undeveloped lot in that immediate area. We had 36 turtles on the property. So the sale went from 92, this was before the market went crazy, $92,000 to $32,000 sale. The person still wanted to buy it, but somebody had to make up for the $60,000 in turtle removal, right? Last but not least, Jordas, because he's giving me the eyeball and I'm not going to mess with Jordas. Burrowing owls, right? Burrowing owls are really, really prevalent in Marco Island and in Cape Coral. They're cute little boogers, right? And they generally see them on like a wood cross, just kind of hanging out. So again, if you can build around them, they want you to stay around 25, 30 feet away from them. But in the event that they're burrows and they're hanging out where you need to build, it's $1,900 to remove them per cluster. And then every 2 little baby owls or chicks or whatever they call it, range anywhere from, you get 2 for the price of 1, anywhere from $600 to $850 per owl, right? So if you have a property with burrowing owls, generally they don't hang out in like big, huge clusters, but you might, if it's got 1, it might have 2 or 3 more clusters. So you could be looking at $10,000 to $12,000 in burrowing owl mitigation as well. Okay. That's all I got, guys. Appreciate it. At the end of the day, just be careful. If you don't know how to reach me, here's my cell phone. If you have questions on this stuff, just call me or email me, and I'll help you any way that I can. But just go to some of these sites and spend a little time researching it. And when if all else fails, just make sure you put the due diligence period in there and have this stuff done so that you don't screw up, right? Cool.
Can I give you a little tip for you?
Turn the mic on.
Yeah, turn the mic on.
For solders, it didn't go over as well. I'm the only one with a sweet tooth.
Yeah, fairly right. So awesome job, Cory. So team, we want to give our vendor a moment to come up here. Bob from Southwest Florida Home Inspection, and Stacy, you're coming up as well. Yeah, okay, you're the okay. She will hand some stuff out. They're gonna come up and speak to us here for a couple of minutes, and then what we'll do is while I set up for Jared's class, you guys can go ahead and grab your lunch, head back to your tables, and get ready for Jared's reverse bold 100. So come on up, Bob. If you want to wear this, our Zoomers can watch you online. They're watching you from back there.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Bob Massanova, SWF Home Inspections. I'm the owner. I have 13 inspectors plus myself. I have 2 inspectors in training, and we're still looking for more people. We do everything from Lakeland to Marco Island. We have inspectors that are strategically located, so you pretty much get the same person all the time. We do have women inspectors, so, but they're up in Venice, sorry. She's up in Venice. A lot of things we do are just like other companies. We do the warranties. You'll hear a lot of companies do them. Biggest thing for myself is I've been doing them since 2008. I am a personal friend of the guy that owns the warranty company, Nathan Thornberry. I have his direct number. If there's ever a problem with any of your customers having an issue with the warranty, it's residential warranty services, get a hold of me, I'll get it done. It's just one of the things that I'm lucky to be in contact with him. We do sell an 18-month warranty. I know you guys do your own 18-month warranty. I mean, do a warranty through Keller Williams, but we have a separate 18-month warranty. The biggest thing for us is what we care about is your referrals. It's not about the home inspection. Our reports are 12 to 28 pages, somewhere in that area. They're very thorough. But what is so important to us is making sure that your customer always stays in front of you. We are constantly making sure that your name gets to them, gets to them, gets to them. It's not about us. It's about you. So one of the things to do after the inspection, you will get an email that says, what gift would you like for your buyers? So you can order one of 4 gifts. They cost you nothing. So you have a slate tile. It's the only thing. You have a cutting board, a bottle of wine, and a mug. Most popular is the wine. Second one is the mug. Reason being, your photo and company logo are on the back. Your customer's having coffee with you every single morning. That's the most important. Like I said, there's nothing on these about us. Only you know where they came from. So we try to get them to you before closing, so you give it to your customer at closing. They said it's the referral. Believe me, they don't get rid of this stuff. We've been doing this now for about 5 years. And man, we do make a lot of this stuff. There's a lot. We have people that just deliver that. Stacy is our marketing person up in the Venice area. She's with me. She's been with us about a month and a half now. So she's still going with me, learning what we have to say at the meetings. One of the things we can do, and this may be for a class eventually, we have a 20-minute decision class. This is 42 pages long. How you can look at a property and make decisions for your customers when they're not here, so you can see them right away. There's a lot of information here all about septics, roofs, sidings, leaks, cracks. It's a class that we do put on. It is not a CE class yet. We're working on that to try to get it 2-hour certified. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. You'll see in the folder, there's a checklist for your sellers to check to see things at closing, to make sure that things are still the same. We know there's a lot of no inspections going on right now. So if you have one of those customers, ask them if they want a post inspection. We do a simple post inspection for them just to give an idea, because we know sellers never lie about anything in their disclosures. So that always happens. And the other thing about the warranty, saying about sellers, we also cover, see, this, a lot of companies don't know this about our warranties. We cover the seller to sellers from the day of the inspection till closing for $500 if something should break. So if the garbage disposal starts leaking, if you're the listing agent, tell your customers to tell us or tell you so you can get a hold of us, because we have a warranty that'll give them money to replace that garbage disposal. Okay, so that's one of the other things that nobody ever explains to you guys. But let your customers know on the listing side, when you're dealing with a company that has residential warranty service warranties, that they're covered. Okay, so it just takes everything, like I said before, sellers never lie about anything, or they don't say it. And then your customer moves in, the next day they're in there and they're going, that inspector sucks. How did he miss this? But it wasn't. It was just something that happened. So either way, we get it covered, because the 90-day warranty thereafter will help pick it up. And I said, it's a good thing about being friends with Nathan Thornberry to get all this stuff done. They take really good care of us. Who is the newest person in the room as an agent? So I bought loads of these to give away. I always buy them. Anybody ever hear about Nolly Williams? Nolly Williams is from Texas. A lot of great information on how to build your business, on doing websites, getting vendors to pay for your marketing.
He's the cowboy hat, right?
Yeah, cowboy hat, Nolly Williams, yeah. He's funny, he's great. And he still does a lot of stuff with Keller Williams. Who is the oldest one that's been doing in here? Because I know,
Years for it,
Oh, two?
two.
there we go. There we go. A lot of great information in there. Like I said, I've taken Bold. I am Bold. I was the first home inspector in Southwest Florida to take Bold. I did it back in 2011. And then everybody, home inspectors, mortgage companies, all them started to do it because they got away from having to spend to be sponsors. It was cheaper to be in class. But I sponsor Bold, or we're sponsoring Bold up in Sarasota and Charlotte County right now. Today's the first day of fast track up there. So we can get our inspections done in 2 to 3 days. We have that many people, so we can get them done. We are looking for home inspectors in Fort Myers and Naples, looking for a marketing person down here. So if you have any ideas for us, because right now home inspectors are starting to struggle. There's no work out there. That's just we are slower. Don't get me wrong. We are slower. For our company, we're probably about, I'm going to say 400 to 600 inspections behind from last year. Last year was an anomaly, but there's nothing out there right now. We're all trying to figure out where to get work from, different ways of doing it. We are a large commercial company. I do commercial inspections. I do not do home inspections, but we have a team that we bring to the commercials, whatever they are. We're only there max 2 hours. So we can bring anywhere from myself to 6, 7 guys to get them done completely. We've done hotels. We're doing a large motel strip coming up, office buildings. We're in Punta Gorda. We're doing an old child jail, is what I consider it. When they sent me the pictures, they had steel toilets in them, and I'm looking at it going, "What was this building?" Because I have to know what their intentions are when they're going to use it for afterwards. So I always have to know when I'm looking at it for a commercial. And I was like, "What was this?" And they said, "Yeah, it was for kids that were in trouble." It was there's 24 rooms in it with doors that lock. Pretty cool. I've done jails. People when they sell jails, old ones. So it's a lot of fun. So just think about it. We answer our phone 24 hours a day. We have phone numbers for everywhere. You see, we have a 239 number. Like I said, 2-3 days to get it done. Next thing is we have some food for you. Please eat. We brought a lot of it. And we don't bring bread. We have fried chicken, other good foods for you. It's all pretty much healthy. We try to take care of you. I know everybody doesn't want no bread anymore. I think what else I forgot. We are very branded. The one thing I hate about Naples and Fort Myers, they won't let us use our lockbox keys. You guys have to show up. They will not give us lockboxes. Up from Cape Coral North, our lockboxes work everywhere because we're on Stellar. But down here, they won't. And we do know the difference between the two contracts, between Naples contract and the FAR bar up there, because we have to worry about screens. Screens are not an issue down here. No, they are an issue down. No, they're not an issue down here, but they are an issue up north. So there's two different things we have to look at contracts. So we train all the guys down here how to look at them, how to inspect a home a little bit different because of the contract. And we have to know that when you're dealing with the contract. Are we dealing with a FAR bar, or are we dealing with the Naples contract? We do have to know that, so that the guy makes sure that they get it right, because we don't want the summary report to say no screens, whatever. Okay, so please have some lunch.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I guess single file or one table at a time, like a wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
right, Cory, let me get you set up with your stuff.
Hey, man, good to meet you. Yeah, good to meet you.